Hello again, this is Ben Hathcock Cross talking to you today, and let's remember the person, I think it was a man, who serendipitously invented the sticky note, because without that we would have no sound here today, so moving in the right direction. Okay, I am going to just do a brief segment here on pet peeves, and this is sort of when the government, and it's always a government attorney, and tells you that you can't bring in evidence or you can't discuss something because they have something that says to the opposite. They have other views. So I think we've seen this for an example. And just sorry, I had a whole little routine set up here. And I was going to say pet peeve, but I cannot stand that language. Can't stand it. Although it's got alliteration in it, I just peeve everything about it. I don't like it. I like the word peevy. I don't like the word peeve. Okay, especially pet. Just don't like it. And as for some stupid reason, I grinds my gears. Went to Reddit, and I was down a 10-minute Reddit hole, and we almost didn't have this segment here today. And then I remembered that I have my own phrase that I use, which is that's distinctly not my preference. Which then reminded me of the fact that on the 4th there, I would say in consolation for a dearth of fireworks, I don't know, maybe the weather wasn't good enough. I strongly suspect that somebody other than me was in charge of fireworks and therefore decided unilaterally that the children didn't need a superfluity of fireworks. That's what a party is not a party without a superabundance, in my opinion. Nevertheless, so I think that there was some disappointment, and this just tells you the family dynamic here. To alleviate some of the concerns, they let the children into my box of squirt guns. And yes, I'm a grown man with a box of squirt guns. There's absolutely no doubt about it. And I can tell you that we were not allowed to have fake guns in our house, for peace and justice. And, I'm all for that to a certain extent, but I was not, I went the opposite way there. So if it's from whatever kind of, guns you want to talk about, I think that, especially if the squirt guns or things like that, if you're going to do these things, you got to do them right. So it's probably... I bought squirt guns on 2 continents and amassed. There's absolutely no doubt about it that I can get a 6-person squirt gun team with magazines, fully equipped in 2 continents. Yeah, I didn't know where that one was going, but that was pretty good. All right, so we're going to still talk about my pet peeve here. And we've seen this particularly in the Novak case, but also either of the DOC ones. And I don't want to call anybody out by name, and I get that people do in the comments. There's somebody who is going through I'm sorry. So there's 2 DOC ones out there, and the main one that's coming to my mind is Novak. But there's another one out there that has a lot to do with, that has there's 2 attorneys here, a male and a female one. And they both do the same thing where they will say, objection, facts not in evidence. Okay? And we've seen that repeatedly. There's a lot of comments about that. And I just sort of want to go over that because, I had a similar discussion about facts not in evidence. Let's put it like that. Okay? So, and the dynamic is something like this, and this is allow me to set it up at 4 minutes and 30 seconds. All right. So, I want to ask a question about X, and let's get a good example here. Let's say whether or not a certain person is a decision maker. Okay? And I just got an answer about this recently, so we can go through that like that. Okay? So Captain X whether or not Captain X made the decision. Okay, so the lawyer from the state will say that, well, Captain X told me that he didn't make the decision. So therefore, you can't ask about it. And I am always just I can't even sort of come to grasp about this. So we're doing this therapy together here. I just don't understand even the whole concept of discovery seems to be thwarted by this statements here. But also, and what I don't necessarily want to get into this is the legality of this. I mean, clearly, let's just say here, I say, admit that Mr. So-and-so is a decision maker in a discovery question or interrogatory, show me all of the decisions that Mr. So-and-so made or something like that, okay? And they'll come back and say, you can't ask that, it's not relevant, or there's no facts that are in evidence there. And we will go through why it's absolutely relevant, because, how else are we going to prove that they condone sex discrimination if we can't identify who the decision maker is, for example, okay? But then they will straight up tell me that they, meaning the attorney, will tell me that they went and asked other people if so-and-so was the decision maker, and they all told that attorney that it wasn't, that they weren't. And I'm just, again, I just cannot even believe that this is happening, but it's happening. And we're supposed to say to ourselves, I guess I just don't, I can't even put myself in the mindset there of, well, this is so-and-so has told me this. I assume that that's true. Therefore, you are not allowed to say anything that contradicts that or ask any questions that may contradict this fact, okay? Now, for example, again, I think a better might be, was this a work event, okay? That they've straight up told me 5 or 6 people, 5 or 6 government employees told them that it was not a work event. Therefore, it's not a work event and you can't ask questions about it. Straight up. And again, I always say, but that's your opinion. And then they will always come back and say, no, that's not opinion. I've got the 6 sources or whatever. It's backed up by... And again, sorry for the trauma here, but here's the point. The person who decides anything I think is opinion as an attorney, anything the plaintiff thinks is an opinion, any fact that the government puts forth is an opinion. The person who just, that's why we have this person or group of people, either a jury or a judge, and we call them the fact finder, right? That's to distinguish them. It's the generic term for the person in law, the group of people, the body who determines what is true and what is not. And unless and until that happens, whatever an attorney says is mere surmise, sir. Nothing more, nothing less. And because I think we know who we're talking about here. And I don't think that it's hubris, right? Because that's normally in a situation like this, you would say to yourself, these people must absolutely believe everything that they say is true, or everything they believe. They misbelieve what they're saying. But, I just don't get the sense here that there is, especially from the government attorneys that we've seen here, again, we're thinking about Novak, but also there's plenty of other cases that we have, even the county ones, even Lucky or whatever. I wouldn't say that hubris is their, meaning like overweight self-pride is their main thing. I think that they're used to and assume that whatever the government says is right, that I get, but not quite hubris. And maybe that's That's the fundamental thing there, because, and this will be the tie into what we're talking about for the rest here, is it's the same mindset that allows that same office to then send letter after letter after letter threatening my law license for discussing the facts of the case on YouTube, and saying that that's slander against, that's defamation of government employees, hardworking government employees. That, I think, it's really problematic there. I mean, obviously it's problematic. What I mean is it's symptomatic of the same mindset there. There's only one way to think, and that's what we tell you it is. And, you know, as I often say on this channel, that clients and attorneys find each other. And mostly that's my way of backhanded complimenting myself in the guise of complimenting my client, of course. But I think it's more universally true than that. I think it's more universally true than that. And I have seen that on all sides. And that's sort of, you know, in that first meeting that I have with anybody, I know they're sizing me up and seeing what it is that, can I deliver what I say I can, and do I have the right attitude for them? Do we match? And I mean, this concept that there's only one right opinion here and that everybody else needs to shut up, they do seem to be, I don't care if it's, you know, these do seem to be the right people to be representing Tony Evers. And I am not going to personalize it in any circumstance. What I mean by the right people is government attorneys at the, you know, who express this point of view. That's what we're talking about it. Again, we have specific examples, but we're talking about it more in the general sense here. That they are aligned in that concept here, that you need to shut up. So that's why I think attorneys and clients do find each other, and that's what I've got on that one here. So my pet peeveroo, I've said it to you. Here, we can still do a little close out music here. Yeah, when somebody says to me that you can't say anything opposing or even ask any questions opposite what I've said already is true before we've had a hearing, I just don't even know what the whole point of the profession is then. Why don't we get rid of courts? That's my question to them.